Good morning, friends. So today while I'm milking, I thought I wanted to talk about a little bit of why we've chosen some of the choices that we've made with our goats that are maybe a little bit more controversial. And so our herd started with a horned goat named Emma. And Emma was a mini Nubian, and she was our first milk goat that we ever had. And she had a great personality. She was easy to milk. She was a really great first goat for us to start with. But she was horned. And so we found that it really wasn't much of an issue at the beginning. She did really well, and we've got more goats though. She came with her buckling, and so she had a friend, but we got 2 more goats. We knew we wanted to breed, so we got a buckling, and then we got another doe. And the buckling we got was polled because we did like the idea of having fewer horned goats, and I'd heard that you could mix them quite successfully. But what actually happened is Emma knew that she had horns, and she was very much in charge of the herd, which is fine. Goats establish a herd order. That's very natural. Good morning, darling. My sweet daughter has just joined us as I'm milking. What I found was Emma was really aware that she had those horns and aggressively used them to put the other goats in their place. And we were a little bit uncomfortable with that, but knew that it was, it's pretty normal in the goat world. But one day she got me in the leg. I was just between her and another goat, and as she went to ram the other goat, I got stabbed by the horn in the leg. And that was kind of the moment where I thought, maybe this is dangerous for us. But my kids weren't interacting with the goats a ton at the time, and so we kind of just pressed through. And it was probably just a few more days, maybe a week or 2 after that, that we came out and our buck looked blind. His eye had been hit. We're guessing Emma had rammed him with her horn, and his eye was glazed over and gray, and we thought he was blind. And I had kind of come to terms with, I love this buck. He was so sweet. He's polled. In fact, he's the buck we still have. His name is Ellen, and we love him dearly. But I thought he's going to be blind, in one eye at least. And so that was really the point where we decided, well, we can't keep Emma. And I think from here on out, we would like to have a herd that is hornless, just for our safety, as well as, the goats to each other, their safety. So we decided that our herd would always be hornless. And so what that meant was we pursued a lot of polled goats who naturally do not have horns. But it also meant that we had to disbud, which is removing or burning off the horn growths when they're babies. I will admit that I was really squeamish about that idea at first. So I had a friend do it for me the first time while I watched and learned. And after that experience, I said, I don't think I can do this. And cowardly, very cowardly, I went to our vet and asked our vet if they could do it instead. Which I just don't agree with, as if there's something with your animals where you're unwilling to do it yourself, you want to separate from that, you need to really evaluate why you think that it's okay for someone else to do it, but not you. And I think that I knew that in my heart was a disconnect and was a problem. But anyway, I took one of our new babies to the vet and had the vet disbud her. And it was the most horrific experience you can imagine. The disbudding iron they used was enormous. It was clearly like an adult size. And the vet just flat out missed. On one of her horns, he just burned the wrong spot. And so that horn didn't get disbudded at all. And I didn't realize it because there's just a lot of, well, when he did it, there was a lot of blood and scabbing for several days. And so it was probably a full week before I realized that horn was not even remotely close to where he burned. And so I was really disappointed by that. And so realized I need to be a big girl about this, and if I want my goats disbudded, I need to do it myself. So I bought myself a disbudding iron, and that poor goat I tried to disbud again because we knew we wanted to keep her. Excuse you. Miss Naughty Goat over here.
Naughty.
She was a keeper goat, and we knew we wanted to keep her. And so I wanted her disbudded so that she could be kept here at the farm. I disbudded her myself and was really hopeful that that would be the end of it. Knowing that this poor goat had been through quite an amount of trauma to be disbudded twice. And, you know, maybe a month or so later, we realized this goat's growing horns. Be patient, my love. I will get you your special treats. And so what happened with that goat, that is our Nia, is not only did she grow the one horn that had been missed, that I disbudded later, but she actually grew the other horn as well. Not sure what happened there. The vet just didn't disbud the goat at all. But anyway, so we waited until she was older and it was cold out. We wanted to wait till winter so we knew we didn't have to deal with flies. And we made the choice to band her horns. Specifically for Nia, we'd made that choice because one of her horns, instead of growing out straight, grew back curved, and it grew curved pretty significantly. And even just in the amount of time it took to wait till winter, it was starting to grow, and I knew it was going to grow back into her skull. So we knew that either this would be a lifetime of maintenance, of trimming to make sure it didn't grow into her skull, or we needed to band and try to get rid of the horns. For Nia specifically, she also was sometimes getting them stuck in places, especially that curved one would get stuck on things. And so we knew it was a little bit of a hazard to her safety. And so we wanted to make sure that she was safe and we were making the best choices for her. Anytime that we were making choices related to our goats, we really want to think about not just what's convenient for us as humans, but what's good for the goats.
See what Bella's special thing was. She made it all before I could.
So now we come to Nancy. Nancy Drew, as named by my daughter. And Nancy is a goat we got as a bottle baby because her mom was 12 when she gave birth and had triplets and just wasn't keeping up. So we bought Nancy as a bottle baby. And so she's very well bonded with us. And it meant I had plenty of time to disbud her, which was great. And so learning through my mistakes, what I learned with Nancy is that disbudding a goat that has pink skin instead of black skin is very different. Normally when you do black skin, you're looking for that brown or copper color as you're disbudding. And whenever you have a goat with pink skin, you'll see that color before you've actually done enough of the disbudding. And so what happened with poor Nancy, if you see her beautiful horns, they just weren't disbudded at all. And so that was another lesson for me in learning how to disbud, was just having a complete failure like that. And so we just said, well, that's my fault, and that means we're gonna have a horned goat. And Nancy has a really sweet personality. She's not by any means the alpha goat. We knew she wasn't gonna be pushing other goats around, so we said that should be fine for our farm. Well, sweet Nancy is very curious, and it has been several times now that we have had to rescue her from putting her head in something small openings that she can't get back out of because of the horns. And so our first thought was, well, we need to change. You okay, girls? We need to change things at our farm to make sure it's safe for our animals. But every time we change something, she would find a new spot. She's just a really smart, curious goat. She's always looking for food. And eventually one day we found her, she had wedged herself up inside the hay feeder a little bit, and some hay had fallen behind her horns. And so she couldn't pull back out of that hole, even though it was pretty big for her. And that was kind of the moment we said, for her safety, more than for our convenience, but really for her safety, we need to not have horns on this poor goat. So that was a really hard decision, because we knew that whatever means we used to remove her horns as a yearling would not be as simple as the disbudding that we had done when she was a baby. And so we did a lot of research and made sure we wanted to go with banding again for Nancy. And so that's what we're doing right now with her, is she has bands on her horns, as low as we could get them to the horn bud. And so we're hoping that those horns will eventually be constricted enough that they fall off. It's really a controversial thing because I'm well aware that it was painful for my goat when I did that. Goats don't like to be held down anyway, and so they fight most during the process just because you're restraining them. But it was apparent the way she would, kind of fling her head back and forth for a day or two, that it was uncomfortable. And that's hard as an owner to see that you've done something that's uncomfortable or even painful for your animal. And we just really had to weigh that decision before we made it, that knowing she's going to be uncomfortable, is it worth it still to do what's best for the animal in the long run? And we knew that we did not want to risk coming out one day and finding our goat had hanged herself somewhere because she got stuck. This goat is so loved by my daughter, and I just couldn't bear that thought. We want to do what's right for the goat, and I think that keeping her safe trumped the discomfort that she felt for a few days. So when you see our sweet Nancy with her blue duct tape on her horns, now you'll know what's going on there. The duct tape over her horns just helped those bands stay in place at the beginning when we were concerned that they might try to roll up the horns instead of staying right at the base. And we just have not pulled it off yet because, it really takes the stability of the horn away whenever you constrict it with the bands like that. And so we're just worried about taking off the tape might result in her bleeding a little bit, and we're trying to minimize any discomfort that poor goat feels right now until she's fully healed. We also every day check both her horns and Nia's horns when we band those. We're checking for any bleeding. Anytime there's bleeding, we coat with Blue Coat and then AluShield, which is like a liquid Band-Aid for livestock. And if ever we see them acting lethargic or anything that might point to an infection, the vet's out here right away, and I also have antibiotics on hand just for animals that show signs of infection. So that's why we've decided to be a hornless herd for our farm. We really want things to be safe because we do have kiddos around all the time. We also want the goats themselves to be safe from both themselves getting stuck and from each other with potential aggression. The amount of damage they can do to each other is a lot more limited without those horns. So tell me your thoughts. What did you choose for your farm, for your goats? Do you have horned goats? Do you have hornless, polled goats? Do you have a mixed herd? How well does that work for you? Tell me your opinions, your experiences. I would love to hear more people who are knowledgeable about why they've made different choices for their herd. Thanks for watching.